Before we go on today's show, let's talk about some BYU basketball news. Now, junior college prospect KJ Perry made an official visit to BYU this past weekend. And as Robbie McCombs from Vanquish the Phone notes, he may be arguably the best junior college prospect in the 2026 recruiting cycle. He visited BYU this past weekend, and he posted about the visit. But then what he told Robbie was an interesting thing about this. He says, quote, "Highlights of my visit were being able to watch practice and be on the same page with the coaching staff. KY has a really good system that fits my play style. I think BYU plans to use me as an on-ball defensive threat who can score and get his teammates involved. I got to kick it with Xavier Staten and AJ DeBonce most of the visit. They're very welcoming to BYU. I plan to commit to a school within the next 30 days. Overall, really good visit, but I got a couple more to take, so we'll see where home is," unquote. Now, as Robbie notes, he's already visited SMU and USC with plans to visit TCU and Oregon in addition to that official visit he made to BYU. I will say this. KJ Perry looks like the exact right guy BYU needs in the post-AJ DeBonce and Richie Saunders era because, as he mentions, an on-ball defender, that's exactly what you need. They're going to have some guys already sticking around from this year's team that obviously will be looking to take on bigger roles, but having a guy who is capable of being that complement for a Robert Wright III, who I don't necessarily see Robert Wright III jumping to the NBA after the season, but if he were to, KJ Perry could slot right in to that point guard role. But also, he could be that off-ball defender to help an undersized guard like Robert Wright III continue to thrive in BYU system post-AJ DeBonce and Richie Saunders. Is he an elite-sized guard? No, he's 6'3", but he is absolutely dynamic. Everything that I've read and heard about him indicates that he would be a really, really nice addition for BYU, and the fact that other programs, the caliber that BYU is competing with for him, SMU, USC, TCU, Oregon, some top-tier programs want him. I wouldn't count Kevin Young out for anything on that front. Also, BYU has found out when they will play their first exhibition game this basketball season. That'll be October 18th. That's the day of BYU-Utah, the rivalry game in football. And the nice part is it's getting it out of the way early. It's an 11 a.m. Mountain Time tip between the Nebraska Cornhuskers and BYU out in Lincoln. It's going to be aired on Big Ten Plus. So it is a subscription you're going to have to get if you want to watch BYU and AJ DeBonce's first official game action, albeit in exhibition mode, to watch that. But getting that out of the way early at 11 a.m. frees up the rest of the day to obviously find out exactly when the Holy War will be played. And I'm looking forward to seeing this BYU basketball team hit the court. There has been so much hype, so much talk, so much about BYU hoops that I cannot wait for that season to start. And I will never, ever wish away college football season. It's been an incredible first 4 weeks if you include week 0 across college football, but I think we're 48 or 47, I think it's 47 days away from the start of the college basketball season. And this might be, as John Rothstein has referred to, the most anticipated BYU basketball season quite literally ever. And BYU's been playing basketball since like the late 1890s. So it's been some pretty highly thought of basketball teams, guys like Danny Ainge, Jimmer Fredette. But when you have AJ DeBonce, Richie Saunders, Robert Wright III, Keba Keita, what BYU has on this roster this year, AJ said it himself. The bar, the low bar is the Sweet 16. What's the aspiration? National title, the first Final Four in program history. It's what it feels like. And that's the exciting part about what BYU has out there for them as they chase that this season. So I'm looking forward to seeing how BYU basketball progresses this year. Now, a couple of the notes before we go on today's show, catching up on some of the BYU notes from last week and early this week is that BYU women's volleyball, if you've not been paying attention, is absolutely rocking and rolling. They are a perfect 9-0 on the season, ranked 16th on the season, and they have not played really slouches, especially the last little bit. They swept number 16 USC last week in straight sets. That was on the road down in California at Gersten Pavilion. LMU hosted that. BYU got the win over number 16 USC. They beat LMU, the host, in straight sets, and also Western Michigan. So BYU women's volleyball is absolutely killing it. As John McBride mentioned, BYU is one of 3 programs or 3 universities out there. Nebraska is one of them, and I don't remember the other one off the top of my head, that have 1 or fewer loss across all their fall sports who are currently in competition. And the only loss belongs to BYU women's soccer, but BYU women's soccer has played an absolute dogged schedule. They beat UCLA at home. They beat Auburn, who was ranked at the time. They did lose 1-0 to Arkansas. That's the lone loss on the season. They bounced back with a 2-0 win over Utah State and Utah Valley in back-to-back games last week, or actually the last 2 weeks. And now they are going to open in Big 12 play, and they very well could and should be the Big 12 favorites in my book, because they're absolutely killing it. And Jennifer Rockwood, she has proven that she can just put together these rosters, and all they do is they don't skip a beat. I love the fact that BYU women's soccer is killing it out there, and I wish them the best as they enter Big 12 play, taking on Arizona State later this week, and we'll see how it all shakes out. And also, if you're looking at an update in terms of BYU men's golf, which is highly, highly thought of, I think they're ranked 13th in the country right now. They opened their fall season yesterday, actually, and they'll finish it up today at the 2025 Woolholly Classic up in Colville, Utah. Now, this Woolholly Golf Club is a newer golf club, and I haven't had a chance to play it, but I've heard it's absolutely incredible. And BYU is participating in it. University of Utah is hosting this event, and hoping that BYU has a positive outcome from it. I have not seen an update. I didn't get an update in terms of scores before I hit record on today's show, but this is a really, really deep and talented BYU men's golf squad. So much like women's volleyball, much like women's soccer, football, good times are rolling forth with BYU athletics. The cross-country programs, the defending national champions, they opened their season with their Autumn Classic, had a perfect 15 points each to win it. So, yeah, the BYU athletics department they're rolling right now. And that's a really, really fun thing to consider, is that it's not just football. It's not just basketball. The entire expanse and depth of BYU's athletic department is showing that it's got absolute studs across the board, and should be challenging for conference titles, if not national titles. And that's a very positive thing to pay attention to if you're a Cougar fan watching these teams and supporting them. Because the other thing I love about BYU fans, you guys out there, you're hardy souls. You may love BYU football most of all, or you may love BYU basketball as your favorite sport, but you also support BYU in general, whether it's BYU soccer, swim and dive, tennis. It could be one of the extramural sports like lacrosse, whatever it is. Rugby, for example. BYU fans love BYU for BYU, and that's a really, really cool thing that I don't think a lot of other athletic departments and universities literally nationwide quite have. And that's a really, really special thing about what makes BYU kind of stand out from the rest of the crowd in collegiate athletics. All right. That's going to do it for today's show. So hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday whenever you hear and or watch this. But as always, thank you truthfully for all of your support. You guys have been absolutely wonderful. The response from yesterday's podcast was overwhelmingly positive, outside of the fact that I made 2 gas when referring to East Carolina. But as always, thank you for subscribing, rating, reviewing, sharing it with your family and friends. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Come back tomorrow and be an everydayer right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.